Welcome back to Let's Play Metal Gear Solid 4. Well, in the last episode, we arrived in this city, and Snake ran into Meryl again. Well, the two exchanged a few words, and it seems like things have changed between them.
Otacon, they've seen this face too.
Yeah, it might have been added to the PMC's blacklist as well.
And Meryl was acting kind of strange.
Things are going to get hairy once the American suppression troops get here. We'd better get to Big Boss's corpse, and fast. But first, we've got to find Big Mama. Snake, let's go over what we know so far. The streets are under curfew. The only people you'll find out there now are PMC soldiers and members of the Resistance.
Yeah, I thought it looked a little too quiet to be a tourist attraction.
The Resistance members are scheduled to convene at Big Mama's hideout. So our best course of action is to follow their lead. When you find the Resistance, tail them. Let them lead you to Big Mama.
But how exactly am I supposed to find this Resistance?
The PMCs have laid a dragnet for Resistance members that covers the entire town. They're using SOP to notify each other by radio of any info collected during their searches. By intercepting those signals, you should be able to reach the Resistance members' locations in real time.
Intercept their communications? How do I do that?
I've provided you with a new device for just that purpose. To hijack PMC communications, open the item window and select the Signal Interceptor. The interceptor constantly monitors PMC voice and data transmissions. When you've got the Signal Interceptor equipped and you hear the PMC's chatter about the Resistance, check your map. It should display the location.
Got it.
Oh, and Snake, I think we've found a way to treat Raiden.
Really?
Yeah, we got in touch with Dr. Madnar. Naomi and Sonny are on their way now.
They'll be all right on their own?
They're a few clicks north of where you are now. It's a non-combat zone, so there won't be any checkpoints. There's even a dialysis machine. It'll take some time, but I think he'll be okay.
Good.
Anyway, you need to hurry and make contact with Big Mama.
I got it.
If Liquid gets his hands on that corpse, it's all over. Follow the Resistance's lead. Okay, first thing is to look for the Resistance. Either use your
Okay, the way things are going to work out from this point forward, at least in this act, is quite a bit different than what we've been playing so far. For the most part, what we've been doing up until this point is taking part in a battlefield, and we can either pick one side or the other, though you really only have the ability to help the Resistance. But it's basically a battlefield, and you're trying to make your way through the battlefield. You can help out if you want, or you can avoid all contact, or kill everyone. It's up to you. But things are different now. We're not on a battlefield now. We're in the middle of a city. At night, during a lockdown, and curfew is in effect, so we're not going to see any civilians out of this. There are plenty of PMCs around. And I don't feel quite so bad about having to kill some of these PMCs at this point. Just, try not to get caught. And instead of sneaking through on our own, we have to tail someone. We're going to have to be following this guy here when you see him. There he is. He is a Resistance member against the PMCs that have taken control of this city. What we're going to have to do is follow him back to his hideout, because he's meeting up with Big Mama, our contact. Why we can't just talk to this guy, because, we're working together, And work together, I don't know, but that's not going to work. So anyway, we're going to have to follow him back to the hideout. And this is going to be a little bit more difficult than the earlier parts of the game. Killing our way out of the situation isn't as effective of an option. We can't just go off on our own. We need to actually follow a person to his destination. We won't be able to get through the door unless he's there to open it. beginning, we're going to be able to be just fine running around with Snake in his trench coat. A little bit later on, I then switched over to the Octocan in order to hide a little bit better. This resistance member is not very intelligent. He's going to get himself caught a bunch of times unless you go and help him out. For example, that guy I just tranquilized. Unless I did that, the resistance guy was going to get himself caught. Then we'd have to help him out anyway, or they'd arrest him, and then we'd have to go find another resistance member. If you feel like being a sadistic son of a bitch, and I have to be honest, I did, you can gun this dude down and then go find another one. There is more than one. He doesn't know what's going on. Oh, everything must be okay. Now the reason why we're trying to find the resistance hideout is we're looking for a contact of a person named Big Mama. This is what
Those resistance fighters can't advance because of the PMC troops.
Of
Isn't there something you can do to help, Snake?
Oh. Okay, never mind. This guy didn't even notice. He's an idiot. And deaf, apparently. Big Mama knows the whereabouts of the body of Big Boss. The reason why we need the body of Big Boss is because Liquid looking for the body of Big Boss. And Big Boss's body has Big Boss's DNA, as you'd expect, and his DNA can be used as sort of identity verification when accessing the Patriots AI system and network. We've seen Liquid trying in the past to go and use DNA to access the Patriot system, and we thought he was trying to gain control of the SLP system, but it seems more like he's trying to gain control of the entire system, the whole Patriots AI. And you remember the Patriots back in Metal Gear Solid 2 were brought up as a sort of secret shadow government. It was controlling everything in the shadows. And it was implied that, or more or less outright stated in Metal Gear Solid 2, that they were essentially behind the entire United States government since the founding of the country, which is a little over 200 years, 225, 230 some years. Metal Gear Solid 3 comes along, though, and the idea of what the Patriots are changed a little bit. Because back in Metal Gear Solid 3, which took place in the 60s, the Patriots didn't exist. In fact, there's a reference to a similar kind of organization called Philosophers, which were, I guess, sort of the same thing, but in reality they didn't have total effective control over the U.S. government. But they were also a sort of group of organizations which hold influence over a number of different countries. For example, there was China, Russia, United States, maybe some other countries that weren't really brought up. Mark II, gotta love it. So you can be rest assured, we do know now that the Patriots haven't always existed, haven't always been part of the U.S. Oh geez, get out of the way. Haven't always been a part of the system. But whatever the genesis of them was, it's gotten to the point where they are in control, and that control has actually extended beyond the United States to the point where the world has effectively adopted this whole idea of using these private military companies instead of their own sort of national militaries. And their reliance on the PMCs may have something to do with the SOP system, which allows them to be more effective in combat. And that SOP system is tied to the Patriots' AIs, so effectively, even if they don't hold control over the foreign governments, the Patriots do have control over the government's military. And that's crazy. But there was, of course, another side to this. Liquid controlling, with all the money that he had gained through Ocelot, when Ocelot sold the plans for Metal Gear Rex, he was able to start up a lot of these PMCs himself, so a lot of the biggest PMCs are actually owned by Liquid. So Liquid has the PMCs, but the Patriots, Liquid's enemies, main enemies, are in control of the SOP system. So you would think that regardless of what Liquid is able to accomplish, the Patriots hold the ability to just pull the plug on the entire system. Now the reason why I'm thinking that they're not willing to do that just yet is because the Patriots have essentially come to rely on this thing they call the war economy, which is a sort of replacement to a lot of the global economy that had come to be in the early 21st century. Just simply unplugging the PMCs could be a disaster. But despite that, Merrill seems to be quite confident that that can be executed as a sort of final solution in the event that things get out of hand with Liquid. Now, Merrill is here, remember. Merrill has adopted a little bit of a different attitude. She is in command of the U.S. Army here, and they're planning on moving on Liquid. Remember, the U.S. Army is under control by the Patriots, so she's really doing what the Patriots want, whether she thinks it or not. And she's going to go in. She outnumbers the PMCs. The Army outnumbers the PMCs, and plus they can pull the plug on the PMC weapons anytime they want. So she thinks that she's got the plate, and she wants Snake to stand down. The reason why she wants to do that, a couple of reasons why. Maybe he has gotten older and he's maybe not in the best shape he's ever been in, and she thinks, okay, this is my time, this is my job to take care of. Why should I let him do this? And she's maybe thinking that either he's going to get himself killed, or he really should just step back and let the next generation go ahead. So she's sort of telling him to
Look out!
not get himself killed.
Find something nearby to hide behind. Stay out of the light.
She doesn't really have the faith that he's going to be able to do what he said he's going to do, which is to kill him. He's not the hero that she was. Back in Metal Gear Solid, she was obsessed with him. She thought he was the greatest murderer born. And extended a little bit even towards making him this person. He's a legend, his ass, and all that kind of stuff. And she's going to let him do what he's going to do. All that. Also, something happened in the last half of the game was there was a battle between Raiden and Vamp. Now, Vamp we had thought was dead. We thought Raiden had killed Vamp back in Metal Gear Solid 2, but whatever the case, he seems to be quite invincible. Because we thought he died because he got shot in the head. Then
Snake,
Raiden
he's
had
about
that
to be
battle
hauled
with him,
off by the
shot him
PMCs.
down, and then Raiden shot him in the head again, and he didn't die. And now Snake shot him in the head in this game, and he's still alive.
What?
So maybe he's immortal, but there was a battle between Raiden and his new cyborg ninja self, and Vamp, and Raiden pretty much won the fight, but he took a lot more damage. Vamp was able to recover, but Raiden just wasn't. So Raiden had to be taken to a doctor in this area, Dr. Adcock. That is actually the name of the guy that killed the Metal Gears, the first 2 Metal Gear games. Whether he's the same guy or not, I'm not quite sure. If he was, you would think that they would reference that a little bit in conversation. But they're just going to let that go. Is this guy going to move or what? Where's Raiden has changed a little bit. He was one little pink man. Ran into him the first time. telling me you can't see Snake there? Ridiculous. Raiden's a whiny little thing in the ass when you first encountered in Metal Gear Solid 2. A lot of people didn't like him, I'll be honest. I didn't like him either. Androgynous looking little turd. But in this game, his... not really his... well, yeah, I guess his attitude and the way he carries himself and the way he does everything is so much different. He sort of got his inner badass. He's not whining around, although we do suspect that he's still acting a little bit sort of immature in that way, because of the way he sort of shut himself off from the world and the way he like rose behind and all that. Okay, moving into the next area, and this is going to be a little bit more of a complication. Yeah, this is it. That resistance member is going to go in there, and he's going to come back out. Oh, look at that. This guy is wearing the uniform of one of the PMCs. And the only way you can tell him apart with the solid eye is going to help us out. It's going to show blue. But he's also going to be walking differently, and he's going to whistle.
There's something fishy about that PMC trooper. Do you hear whistling?
But this is going to make it easier for him to move through the PMCs without being discovered. It's also going to make it harder for us because he's not going to have any thought whatsoever about just walking past PMCs, and we're not going to be able to follow quite so easily. 80% camo index, I should be able to get us by in front. Weird little hump in the ground thing. Okay, 90% is even better. Now there will be magazines and strike guards.
Did you hear that?
There will be a Jeep or a Humvee or some sort of truck driving around in this area, and it has a tendency to show up at the most inappropriate times. Now, if you're being really, really careful, like sneaking around like the way I'm doing here, it's probably not going to discover you. But especially on the harder difficulties, if this thing comes up and it discovers you, one of the things I found out that surprisingly works well is if you're carrying around the RPG and the moment that thing sees you, if you blow it away, you won't get an alert release. Okay, that one guy is heading off in the other direction. Freeze. That's a decoy, it's not the right guy.
Find what you're looking at.
Got lots of stuff on it. And you crush his nuts to knock him unconscious. Make sure you don't let them get away. That's the other way. That's not him. He went this way. There he is. He's broken off from the other PMC, so just follow him. I'm pretty sure he will, regardless of the difficulty level or anything like that, follow the same route. He always seems to follow the same route. Now, something's not going to happen here is in the higher difficulty levels, there's an entire other section of the map, which makes it even harder because there are more troops, there are searchlights, there are more sentries and all that kind of stuff. That's not going to happen in this one because I have it on normal difficulty, not extreme or big boss or anything like that. And that can be a real pain.
Looks like they're conducting vehicle patrols.
Especially the
Watch out for them,
the
Snake.
guy here takes a harder route climbing over things. It's more likely to discover you and all that. Oh, there's a truck. Okay, if that thing is to stumble up on you and you have your RPG app, feel free to just blow it away as quickly as you can before it has a chance to radio for help, because that will stop any signal from getting out. Surprisingly, no one else is able to hear the explosion. I know, it sounds stupid. Okay, we're getting closer to the end. Really want to think what you can do probably. I'm not sure where this is supposed to be. I know they said it in some way, but I can't remember where. Discovers you, all those PMC guys will hop out and try to kill you. Okay. Jeez, they found somebody getting knocked out.
This is HQ.
Okay, we're around about the end.
Acknowledge.
He's
Sending reinforcements. Use extra caution. They are actually on the lookout. I think Snake had said that they had his younger version of his face on the blacklist as well. And the reason why he was able to duplicate the younger appearance is because the face camera they picked up from Laughing Octopus gave him that ability. Okay. There he is, and I'm going to bring the episode to an end. Thanks for watching. The next episode, we'll jump in here and meet our contact, Big Mama.